Think we have everyone here that's coming, other than our friend George is missing. So we'll make sure that we check that out later. Thank you all. We certainly have a couple of council members here, Vice Mayor James Clendenin, Councilmember LaWanta Williams. Thank you both for joining us. We have a couple of guests that we'll introduce here in just a minute. I want to talk about a couple of issues. The first one we'll jump into immediately is transit. I know there's some significant changes that are happening on transit. We're continuing to try and do more with less. Steve Spade is here to answer any questions when we wrap up here today. But the new route and fare changes are getting ready to be implemented for our Wichita Transit Department. New routes were designed to offer better crosstown connections. Route changes will be accessed through wichitatransit.org. Again, wichitatransit.org if you'd like to access those new route changes and have those available. In addition, more than 1,000 new bus stops have been installed throughout the city. If you haven't seen them, the new shelters are fabulous. Bus stops help people know where the buses run. There's a map on each one. And we might talk about this, and we'll put Steve on the spot. I know that they are soon looking at implementing some new technology that will let you know when the next bus will be at that bus stop. And we'll put him on the spot and ask him what he thinks the timeline might be for that. Boarding only at bus stops makes the service safer and more convenient, and so we encourage citizens to use those new bus stops. They are great shelters and provide for a safe way to get on and off the bus. We'll be implementing a free fare week from March 26th through April 2nd. Riders can ride the bus system for free. We have always found this to be a very successful tool in marketing our transit system. We tend to see a significant spike on free fare week, and the beauty of that is that trend stays up for the rest of the year. And so we've been pretty consistent over the last few years at utilizing that free fare week as a marketing tool and getting people to better understand our transit system, and it's working. If you've never ridden a Wichita bus, that's the time to try one out. Fare changes will go into effect on April 4th. Cash fare will remain at $1.75, but transfers will be discontinued and will require exact change. Day passes will be sold for $5 on the bus, and monthly passes will be greatly discounted for the first time at $55. Riders can get a great deal for transit. So a monthly $55 transit pass will get you on the bus anytime you want, transfer anytime you want, for one fee for that entire month. Seniors and individuals who are differently able will be able to ride for 85 cents, and children 5 and under ride for free. The full list of fare changes can be accessed again at wichitatransit.org. I encourage you to get on that site. There is also a Wichita Transit app that you can download, which will allow individuals to see where their bus is in real time and help them plan their trips. So hopefully we can come up with some really tough questions for Steve Spade. Want to mention something that I would love to see more knowledge in our community of, and that's the United Negro College Fund. I mentioned it today, and we'll get to that why, because we're reaching the deadline for applications this year. I want everyone to know and help promote this as an opportunity for our local students regarding scholarship opportunity. One of the big reasons that we know about it is that Koch Industries right here in town has contributed $25 million in grants to the United Negro College Fund. This program supports students attending historically black colleges and universities as well as many Kansas schools. The program includes scholarships for undergraduate, graduate, postdoctorate students seeking assistance. The funding provides nearly 3,000 merit-based scholarships to African American students and focuses on how entrepreneurship, economics, and innovation contribute to the well-being of individuals, communities, and society. And specifically, they have shared with us recently that they're concentrating on STEM curriculum. And we are one of the best in the country at promoting STEM curriculum, and that's science, technology, engineering, and math for those unfamiliar with STEM. Some communities have changed that to STEAM and added art component into that. But the fact that there's millions of dollars worth of scholarships available, one of our biggest contributors of that is a local company. We need our local area students to understand the opportunities available to them. We're going to host a luncheon in September for UNCF to spread awareness and honor them for their impact into our community. And so just want to mention again, the application deadline for scholarships for this year is April 4th, and they told me that's still enough time for those that would like to put in an application for that scholarship opportunity. There is still time, and that's the biggest reason why I mention it today. Now I'm going to bring up my friend Brad Crisp, and he's going to share some recent news concerning some of the fires that we're battling in this community. Brad, thanks for being here.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Mayor Longwell. Good morning. My name is Brad Crisp, CRISP, Fire Marshal, Wichita Fire Department. Wanted to share some of our efforts in helping our neighboring emergency services that we undertook last night and through this morning. Last night, Governor Sam Brownback had declared a state of an emergency in 4 counties here in Kansas, those being Reno and Harvey County, as well as Comanche and Barber County, due to the wildfires that were continuing to burn throughout the day. The Wichita Fire Department's command staff reached out to their unified command and the emergency managers in those counties and asked them what we could do to be of assistance in their efforts, understanding that they had been working for many hours with resources that they had available to them, and see what we could do to help. Initially, they did ask for help, obviously. We had intended to send personnel to both of those theaters of operation. It was decided as we were deploying that our resources were going to be more useful up in the Harvey County and Reno County area. So we did dispatch 4 squad units, and those are brush trucks in layman's terms, as well as 4 support staff to the Harvey Reno County fire area for a total of 12 personnel. They did arrive on the scene last night at about 9:30, and they stayed up in that area until about 7 o'clock this morning. They did return at 7:45. In talking with the Unified Command folks up there, they felt that they were in a good position to return those units back to us, but we do continue to be on standby in the event that the weather shifts again and they need additional help. We continue to monitor the weather situation here locally. Obviously, one of the things that we take into consideration first is fire protection for this community. We obviously have to continue to maintain our minimum staffing standards, and we continued to do that last night. The burn ban is still in effect. I think that probably goes without saying. But it doesn't look like we're going to have a significant change in the weather conditions until later this evening. The winds are expected to die down a little bit. However, they're expected to kick back up tomorrow afternoon. So we'll continue to be in a burn ban until at least Saturday morning. We'll reevaluate the weather modeling and the weather conditions that are forecasted at that time and make a decision about whether or not to lift the burn ban for a couple of days. Looking at the weather model forecast for next week, it looks like it's going to be another windy week. And of course, as we move into April, we traditionally go into a burn ban with burn restrictions anyway because of some of the state requirements for prescribed burning. So with that, I'll stand for questions.
So we'll take questions on any of the topics.
Brad, I was going to ask you on the fires, just, you know, when you send those squads up there, talk about the importance of that particular kind of squad when you're fighting grass fires.
Sure. Well, of course, we're a metro fire department, so we have a number of different types of apparatus, but the larger fire trucks that most people are accustomed to, engines and quints and trucks, they're really not off-road vehicles. They're not wildland fire vehicles, but we do have apparatus in our fleet we call squads. They look like pickup trucks that have pumps and water tanks on the back. They are designed to go off-road if needed, and so clearly the types of fires that they're fighting in those counties are in very grassy areas with dirt roads and ravines and creeks and whatnot. So the decision that we made to deploy those apparatus up there were due to the topography and the types of conditions that they're facing up there. They're not the same kinds of squads that many of the rural fire departments have. They're a little different in design, but they do have some of the same functionality. So we made the decision to send those 4 reserve squad units up there with personnel so that we could complement what was happening in those theaters of operation.
They may know, but can you briefly share what the Unified Command is?
Sure. Unified Command System is set up so that departments from many different areas, counties, cities can operate under one command structure. That way, somebody is making decisions and executing those decisions regardless of what jurisdiction you're from. Whenever you have multiple agencies responding to an incident, it's very important that those communication lines are clear and they're concise, and that somebody's making decisions and that information is moving downstream to the people that are doing the work. So we operate under the Incident Command System. One of the elements of that is a unified command. So essentially, they'll have a unified commander like up in Reno and Harvey County who's making decisions that aren't related to the Wichita Fire Department in any way, but we're answering to them. We're doing the work that they're asking us to do. We did send a couple of our battalion chiefs up there to help in the interpretation and the expectations of what that unified command system wanted, and it worked flawlessly.
Brad, how does that work as far as pay? Is that a volunteer thing that they do, or do you pay them overtime?
No, we called in people who were off duty, and they are being compensated for their time. Typically, when the governor or the president, for that matter, calls a state of emergency, there is a possibility for those costs to be refunded back to the city. We don't know that that's going to happen at this point in time. That was a factor for us to consider, but it wasn't the driving factor for the decision. If we're able to recuperate some of those costs, that would be wonderful, but if not, then that's something that we'll deal with later. We wanted to get them the help, and they clearly needed the help, and we were glad that we were able to provide that opportunity.
Why not send some down to Barber County?
We did dispatch to Barber County. They have a unified command system set up there as well. And the decision between those two unified command entities who were communicating with each other through the emergency management system was that our resources were going to be better used in Reno and Harvey County. So we were sending 2 squads and a battalion chief down to Comanche in Barber County, and they asked if we would divert those crews up to Harvey County to assist. And so we were able to keep all of our crews together. Yeah.
With such a wide staging area and so many evacuations, is there an imminent threat to any business owners or homeowners?
I personally wasn't up there. I know the situation out west is a little different. It's more of a prairie, grassland, range type fire. The one up north in Reno and Harvey County has more in the way of structures with farms and homes and barns and creeks and different kinds of challenges. So the two are a little unique in that sense, and I think that's part of the decision why we sent our resources up there, is because of those different kinds of challenges. But there was clearly more in the way of structures and homes, homesteads and whatnot threatened up in the or Reno County theater than in the Comanche and Barber County. Yeah, a little more population. Yeah. Thank you all very much. Thank you, Mayor.
Brad, thank you.
Jeff, when you were talking about the fares,
Right.
how much was a monthly fare before?
What was $90 was so we went from 90 on a monthly fare to $55. 90 was basically the daily fare compounded, I believe, or multiplied by the number of day opportunities. So we're dramatically decreasing the cost of that so that we can hopefully encourage people to buy that monthly pass. Certainly more convenient for them and saves them significantly on transfers and rides. Want to also mention, and Brad mentioned it certainly, that there sometimes are opportunities for us to recoup our costs when we send out resources to other communities. But it's not uncommon for Wichita to send resources to other communities. We sent resources when Heston was battling the situation they battled a month ago. And certainly want to congratulate our own firefighters for helping save the life in Conway Springs this past week. It was our team that ultimately ended up to be first on the spot with the right equipment and went in and saved that young man's life. And so, and it's often because we have unique equipment that many of these small towns and rural areas don't have access to, that will provide those opportunities to go in and help our neighbors. And we do that oftentimes knowing that there is not an opportunity to recover those costs. So it's just simply a decision to help our neighbors. I did want to put Steve on the spot. So we are looking at these new bus shelters, and we're talking about putting in the system that will be integrated to GPS that will share in electronic visual way when the next bus will be there. You have any of those planned to be introduced here shortly?
Well, as a matter of fact, Mayor, we're ready to go. We're waiting for you to make the announcement, and our app is ready to boot. This is a really significant step for us. We've heard from lots of people that I need to be able to tell where my bus is, and the technology's existed, and just this past week we perfected it to the point that it's now ready to release. But whether you have an Android phone or an iPhone, you can now go to, whether it's your App Store or Google Store, and download an app. It's called My Stop Mobile. As a matter of fact, I've got a picture of you'll find a button like this on our website. But you can simply go to My Stop in your App Store. After searching for it, download it, and then click on the City of Wichita, and you'll be able to bring up our real-time bus app. Once you've done that, what you'll be able to do is go into a system map, click on the route that you're interested in. It'll bring up the route, and it'll show you, as the mayor said, all of the stops on the route, and it'll have an icon about where the bus is on that route, and you can click on the bus, and it'll tell you its exact location, and you can then judge where it is in relation to your stop. Not only is this a convenience for all of our passengers, but particularly for folks who are visually impaired, who a lot of times visually impaired folks have the ability to have a talking phone, and they'll be able to use this app then to help locate their bus and get schedule information. So it'll really make our system not only accessible to the general public, but also those who are visually impaired.
Can you kind of talk about how Transit's going to basically judge the success of the changes with the fares and the routes?
Yeah, that's a really good question. One thing to maybe introduce that, we had a couple years worth of public input and did an analysis of how the system's performing, and we've started with a recommendation on fine-tuning the system. This is not a service expansion, but this is reorienting the routes to make them more efficient, more convenient, and to put our resources in areas where we got greater potential to build ridership. It takes anywhere from 12 to 18 months to understand whether or not a change has been successful. What we think we'll experience early on is it'll be new routes, a new system for people to understand, and so you go through a little bit of confusion trying to work with people to get them to understand the system, and then we'll start fine-tuning the operation. The consultants we worked with projected that we would see a slight drop in ridership in the first 6 months, and then after that we'd see pretty significant gains. What we intend to do is monitor our ridership. We can monitor that almost on a bus stop by bus stop basis. Once the service has been operating 60 to 90 days, we're going to start looking for public input. so that we can, again, come back and fine-tune the system where we've got issues with routes or schedules that we can improve. At the end of 18 months, we think we're going to see pretty significant ridership increases, and that's the way we're going to judge the system. If we can serve more people, generate more rides, and do it in a more cost-effective manner, then we're going to feel we're successful.
I'd like to go back to the removal of transfers and implement of exact change. What kind of impact is that going to have on the daily rider? I understand monthly they could probably have some savings, but what if they don't typically do that?
Well, we have a number of options. First of all, we're doing away with transfers because in our public input process, we found from both the public and our drivers that transfers are a major source of confusion and conflict. And so people suggested we needed to do something with it. So we did. We got rid of it. But what we've done is introduced something else that the public wanted, and that was the ability to purchase a day pass on the bus. Under our current system, you got on the bus, you paid a fare, you go to the transit center, then you'd go in and buy a day pass. What we've done is modified our fare boxes, so instead of giving transfers, we can sell day passes. So a passenger can get on the bus the first time they're on, put a $5 bill in, and then they'll get a day pass, and that day pass allows them to ride the bus unlimited times during the day, as many times as they want. What that does is starts to stimulate ridership. It also speeds up the boarding in the system. Now all they have to do is swipe a card and get on, and it eliminates the confusion and conflicts of having change. Again, exact change is something that caused a lot of difficulty in the system. When we were giving change cards, then we had to make sure the money was counted. We were giving change cards for as little as 3 and 4 cents. That became really costly, but it also delayed the system. One of the things we're trying to do is speed up the whole process for people in travel time. We heard from people that, it takes 3 times as long to get there by bus as by car. So we've straightened out the routes. We've gone to a designated stop system that starts to spread out the number of times a bus has to stop. And we've sped up the boarding system so that at the end of the day, what was a 30-minute bus ride, we're hoping can be down as low as a 20-minute bus ride for people. The other thing we're doing is encouraging people by the large discount to prepay their fares. So the longer the period you buy of bus rides, the cheaper the ride it is on a per ride basis. So you're riding for essentially a 47% discount if you purchase a monthly pass. That means that not only can you ride it the 5 days going to and from work, say you work Monday through Friday, but you can also use that pass for unlimited rides on the weekend. So we think that's the best deal. Again, it speeds up the system for us. We get the cash up front for the system, and it makes it easier for the passenger.
When does this go into effect?
Right. The service change starts on Saturday. Then we've got a week of free fares, and what we're really doing is encourage people to get out, learn the system, check it out. And then after a week of that, we implement the new fare structure, so it'll be the Monday following, which is April 4th. Now, we do have, you can go to our website, wichitatransit.org, and get all of the new schedule and route information. We also have staff at the transit center at information tables who are giving personalized assistance to people who want to plan a trip. And so we'll teach them where the routes are running, talk to them about their trip, and give them specific information. Also, on the website, if you go to our route map now, there's also a trip planner that we have available that we've launched with the new app. So now a passenger can go on the website, they can enter in the trip planner the origin address and their destination, and that trip planner will tell them where the closest bus stop is, how far it is to walk, what time the next bus comes, and then how to complete that trip. So that person can plan their complete trip for the day on the website if they like.
Say the website.
WichitaTransit.org.
Okay. Thank you.
Quick question. So the free week is the 26th to the 2nd?
Right.
And then the fare system starts the 4th, so what happens on the 3rd?
It's Sunday.
It's a Sunday.
Yeah. So it's, if you can find a bus, it's free. Yeah. We're not running on Sunday. I hope I'm right. I hope that is Sunday, by the way. Yeah, okay.
If not, we just gave free rides.
Yeah, that day too.
I want to thank Steve and Brad for coming down and sharing with us some important information. And so thank you all, and someone go check on George. Steve, Ted, that is your responsibility.
I'm on it.
All right.